Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Good morning, Greg. Good to see you, sir. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Perry. We're going to give it just a minute. See what's happening. Let stragglers come in. Good morning, Stephen. Good to see you. I saw your message on Discord just now. I'll go look and see. Yeah, I had to catch up my emails. So I must have sent the wrong one, but I'll resend and I'll post on Discord the link as well. And if you're ever impatient, back to back of the same. I wonder if that's because I thought it didn't send the first time. Let me check. How many total did you get? You should have got. This was yesterday, or this was. I'll check and look. I'll make it look. I'll take a look. I'll take a look. And don't forget, bookmark the group's YouTube page because that's where I'm posting them. So they'll pop up there. If you make our YouTube page a favorite and go to YouTube, it'll always notify you whenever something new is posted, and then you'll have that. I should put that in an email and give instructions on that because that could be useful. All right, let's get started. Welcome to the Market Watch Group midweek check-in. It's Wednesday. Market's been a little iffy this week. It's nothing terrible. You probably closed some things, maybe got stopped out of things. Can I provide the link? Yeah, let me see here. I'll grab it before we're done. I'll grab it before we're done and I'll post the group link here. Let's see if good morning, Judy. Very good to see you. We're missing Sandy. She didn't come yesterday either. I hope she's feeling okay. I hope she's feeling all right. Okay. Let's keep going. Speaking of, she heard me. Here's the disclaimers. Be careful out there. Illustrative educational purposes only, not recommendations. Yada yada. Today's agenda. We'll look at today's opening analysis on the futures, what's happening, where we revisit our posture. We're bullish and increasingly so, and the market's pulled back a little. Does that mean we were wrong? I don't think so. We'll talk about that. Mindset for open trades. So BLDR was a trade that I had put out on an alert. It stopped out on Monday. What is it? That would have taken the loss. It is what it is. Steven says no, just a slight correction. Yeah, okay. I would even say consolidation, right? Just a slight pullback. That's all it is. All right. We'll look at our watch list. I didn't put it out as an alert, but I am watching and looking at Meta today. We looked at it yesterday. Good morning, Bob. Good to see you. If you missed the options hour, the options presentation for foundations, great discussion on debit spreads. Really trying to get into the application of it. So we looked at the trade that I had just put out. Talked about the specifics of what it allowed me to do. I could be a little more conservative with my stop. Where does time hurt me, help me? How bad does it hurt? You can see how that trade, I mean, it's a great trade. It's a higher probability trade because all it has to do is not go down. If it just sits around, we'll sit in it. If it makes a breakout move, we might look to push for more, right? When we were looking at 3-to-1s or 2-to-1s, that was only achieving half the gain. If it breaks out, we might decide, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can't get 80-90% now that I'm pushing this thing. I'm really gonna see if I can't extend this a little bit. So, and as we looked at new trades, we said, oh, look, here's a potential on CMG, which we're watching due to splits. I hadn't looked at the options in a while, and I think this is partially why they're splitting. Really low volume and open interest because they're very expensive options, right? You got to imagine it's a $3,000 stock. So you look at an at the money option, it's $60 a month out. That's $6,000 for one contract. And so literally there's, double digits of contracts. We're gonna keep an eye on it through the split, and then we'll watch it post split and see the options activity. And you'll get a good real-time sense as to why splits occur and what it does to regenerate interest at 60 and options available at, right, all of a sudden they'll have dollar, nothing changes, the equity doesn't change, but psychologically it's more attractive. So I think it'll be interesting. Will we trade it pre-split? As I looked at the options, I thought to myself, nah, probably not. That was my thought. Okay, let's get into it. So let's start. Let's start here. All right. Not here, there. If you noticed yesterday, GE took a big old hit. Why am I still on the futures? Oh, because the market's not open yet. Yeah, futures are down a little bit. Things that we're in, we're having to be patient with. Things that we're looking to enter into, same thing. What are we waiting for a signal? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. This is hardly down at all. 0.22, 0.1, 0.38, 0.4. God, oil just keeps going. We're up another 0.6. It's not a ton, but it just keeps going, right? Oil just keeps going. U.S. futures drift lower as faith in rate cuts fade. We'll look. We'll see if that's what it is, and drift lower as they fade. Well, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so we can remember we've already said there's a good chance that we're going to possibly have to redraw. It's so tight, this price action right now. Right? It's so tight. Look how tight that is. It's very tight, but it does seem to be what we're moving into. I think this week is telltale. If we can break out of this, okay. Remember that in April. Now, different ones say different things, but you can see here that typically we have a bounce up in early April, then pull back. But right now we're kind of pulling back. So this is a little bit less certain. I am definitely still looking at this big bullish chunk here, thinking to myself, I don't want to take unnecessary losses. I don't want to panic. I'm feeling fine, is what I'm saying. Are we stalling a little bit? Yep, we are. But I think until I'm convinced otherwise, I'm still expecting the bullishness to prevail. And you can see, we have yesterday we had average volume, right? Average volume on the drop. It was a sell day, and it actually gapped down and then sold off a little bit, then recovered, closed higher than it opened. So this is a white candle. Volume was average. Still nothing here. I recognize that we're not as strong in our trend. It's drifted now. Our trend lines held, but it started missing the top of the trend. We were sensing that a little bit. So yeah, I do think that our short-term score, if it doesn't get back to this line or into this trend. Now, it's Wednesday, we have 2 more days. A lot can still happen, but that's a long ways to go to get back up to that old black trend line right there. If it doesn't get there, score's going to drop. But drop means less strong. It doesn't mean weak. So I'm not in any way panicked or worried or thinking, oh no, I'm not bullish anymore. Definitely still bullish. Okay. Long term, we already know nothing's going to change there. Let's take a quick peek. Volume we just looked at. There's nothing yet. There's nothing yet. But what we do notice, remember we had a couple of positive volume days over here to the left. Well, those are gone now. So this week when we score, however, I want you to notice, at least as of right now, here's where we started. We're going to lose these days too, but this is where we started. This is where we are now. And there's the opening bell. A little louder than I was expecting. I hope you're enjoying your time with your daughter and granddaughter, Bob. Amazing. So here we are. We opened down a titch. Even though there wasn't an alert, today is absolutely potential signal day. We should see plenty of things that are at support levels that are considering if the momentum comes, turn it into buy signals, without a doubt. Okay, so whoops, not that one. Oh, Meta. That's the Meta trade. If you want to see what we were looking at, if you want to take a quick peek at it, this was the trade we were looking at. Now, it's the numbers are off a little bit because we were looking at it at a better price. And now that Meta's opened higher, it's changed, and that would have been part of the alert as it couldn't open too high. Well, we'll keep an eye on it though. I'm trying to remember what the price was. I don't know. I'm gonna put 550. Maybe I'll go look. Something like that. Okay. Didn't want that one. I wanted this one. So, are you in trades? How are they holding up? Are you looking for new trades? How are you trading? How does it feel, this market right now? Let me know. And then we'll keep going through. Let's take a look at a few other things. We'll let the opening range percolate a little bit. And then we will review some positions. Okay, so let's take a look at the Fed and see what we can glean. Oops, let me reload it actually here. Okay, starting in always May. Let's take a look, and yeah, as usual. what does this mean to us? There's no expectation whatsoever, right? When you look at June, June was for quite a while. I don't know why I left. Oop. Okay. Sorry. I don't know why Alexa's talking to me. We're down to 1-1, basically. So there is an adjustment, downgrading the market's expectations right now. It's not a lot, right? There wasn't huge expectations in June. I'm in June still. I'm going to wait until after next week. So remember, this week, starting today, we have employment data coming out. Next week, we have inflationary data coming out. So that's what's on the radar. And I think I'm not going to reduce my expectations until I get a little bit more. But the market is down to 1-1 with and you can see that it's shifting here. So the percentage of it staying the same. We went 26 to 29 to 36 to 45. So the trend here is definitely getting worse, which means more likely that the rates stay the same until possibly July. And this could shake up that thought process of the cyclical. We'll see, right? Although remember what we said. We said that in June, we tend to get a little bit of headwinds in the summer. So that June meeting not getting a rate cut could certainly do that. And then it wouldn't be maybe till July that we start to think, okay, here it comes. July expectations, 50% to get a cut. That's the first time it's now that's barely 2-1. But July is still holding as higher probability than not that's where the rate comes. June barely is holding on to that probability. Okay. Quick look at the calendar. What's today? Okay, so let's start with what happened yesterday. Yesterday we had jobless claims. Factory orders came back better than expected. A little better than expected, but better than expected. Okay. The small ones can add up if you keep seeing that all the small reports are exceeding expectations. Job openings came as expected, 8.8. Now we're looking at ADP. What was the ADP number? Did we see that? Did anybody see that? Jobs report explained. Is this it? That's job openings. Surprised that we don't see anything about the ADP report. Private increased by 184,000. Better than expected. Okay, so we were expecting 155. We got 184, which is, leading towards us achieving this drop in the unemployment rate. I don't think we'll exceed this. Remember, this is last time. Last month on the non-farm, we had a big, like we were expecting 150 and got 275, almost double. This time we're expecting 200. If we get 200, that's still expanding the labor market. It is very healthy, and that's useful. That's useful for us. Okay, so how's the opening range? 7 minutes in, holding up, right? We gapped down, but the buyers coming in on the open, still pushing. Okay, so this is why I say, let's go back to, so we thought this might be something. It's dropping. Now we're looking for this to be something. Where's my line in the sand? It's got to be above the 50, which means it's got to hold probably somewhere above 509. So even if it pulled back a little farther, this is still a very tradable. It's not like oh, well, I want to wait and see. If it pulls back a little further and then it turns, great, let's go. Let's be ready to trade that. We're looking for the April bounce, whether it starts now or starts in a few more days. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Definitely let me know if you agree, disagree. Apple and tea thinking Friday, Sandy said. Okay. Okay. Maybe have a little bit more here. Yeah, just a little pause. You can see we had something like it here where we just kind of paused and we tried and then pulled back, and then ultimately it just kept going. It doesn't always move. Greg said, seems like oil's strong. Holy shit, right? I mean, we've even said we'd like to trade it, but it hasn't really pulled back and given much of a pausing opportunity. So it's a difficult one because it is strong. I agree. Seems very strong. Like, why is it so strong? That's the type of strong you see when production gets choked off or there's some unrest somewhere in the Middle East that's causing uh, supply concerns, things like that, right? But materials too. And the problem is that's very pro-inflation, right? Oil going up and materials going up is very pro-inflation, and we're trying to get anti-inflation data that the Fed is like, oh look, it's going down and we can lower rates, and that's what puts things at odds right now. The longer oil and material stays up, the more I think that we are going to get kicked to July and then possibly even to September. We only have 3 meetings left at that point. Strong enough, I think, also that I want to trade it, but I don't want to enter late only to have it pull back. So it's a little bit of a freight train, and I need it to slow down. Give me something to trade. I like your observation though. Okay, let's go. Did we look at everything? I think we did. Let's go look at some. Let's go look at some stocks. That's probably what we should do. Apple. Oh, so it's holding. We were looking to see if it was going to become tradable, but it's holding at support. All right. Same rules apply. Now that it's come all the way back down, it has a new consolidation. Maybe, but if it breaks and gets back up here, it does have to get above this for me this time. If it gets above the previous high, pulls back, high or low, okay, we'll see. I'll keep rooting for it. I'm cheering it on. AIG, it's turning out of this. There's potential, I think, for entries in financial stocks. They're a little choppy. They're a little bit turning into these grinders. versus like swing, 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 right? Like those are different types of moves here to there. You can see it, but it's still bullish. So, what's the thought? What's the volatility assessment? I would say the volatility assessment is not low. Not low means I would consider some type of a spread trade or something. Okay. Does look bullish. I think we'll see more of that. AMD's kind of holding up. Yeah, it's holding the 50. We'll see if it can get moving. Nothing new though, nothing net new. Amazon, a bit of a grinder. It's kind of hitting some resistance, maybe watching a little bit here. AXP. AXP. I think AXP is in setup mode. Right? I think it's in setup mode. It's still bullish. It's consolidating a little bit. Yeah, I definitely think that. Okay, what else? Where's my list? Oh, let's see if I can toggle today. Nope. Nope, I cannot. Okay. Boeing still drifting. Nothing there. Bank of America strong. Remember that with financials, we have earnings about 2 weeks out now. 2 weeks. So we have time for trades right now, but not much longer. BLDR, would I consider another go? So remember, I was trading a potential flag. There's the flag, and it gave just enough. That's that, I think, and I'm adjusting a little bit to the trigger signals as well. That's the risk of a trigger signal, is if it triggers early in the day and then stutters, then it's going to look like you're going to question it later. If it triggers and holds, you're going to be like, what a great trade. No, it didn't. But we know what happened there. So am I thinking about it again? Yeah. Still in a trend, still above the 50. I would definitely consider this for a second go. I mean, it owes me some money, right? So a little bit of a pause in Citi. Citi looks like the first to report on the 12th. So you don't have a lot of time already before that earnings window. Just be careful with anything financials. Yeah, anything financials. Okay. Caterpillar's holding on. So if you held Caterpillar, right, it had one pause on Monday, but it held and it's holding up. Let's see if it can continue. There's Chipotle. So you can see why we thought about trading it, right? Is it pulled back? It's holding. The options aren't great though. I do think it has potential. Capital One setting up. Capital One made a nice run. If you survived this day, you made a nice catch on this thing. Now it's consolidating. So I'd say Capital One is setting up and could be tradable. Oh, I'm with Sandy, maybe Friday, something like that. There's oil. Hell yeah, it seems strong. Right? Seems very strong. The biggest problem is we've been like, okay, are we gonna get a trade? Are we gonna get a trade? Are we going to get a trade? Nope. Are we going to get it? Nope. Nope. Are we going to get it? And it just keeps going higher. And so, of course, we all know that if we get in now, it's going to consolidate. If we had gotten in back here, it would have consolidated. Doesn't matter. No, just kidding. I have to get in. Unless you planned it to be a continuation trade, we were looking for a bounce trade, and in order to do a bounce trade, it has to pull back. So if you, at a certain point you realize, you know what? Now, if I was looking for a bounce here and then it gave me this, that right there on the 19th, that would have been the day that I say, you know what? I'm going to go Heiken Ashi instead. So if you look here and you say it broke out, now I probably would have done it more if it had volume, but you could just ride it. And that would have been a good, that's where sometimes people say, well, I don't get, where do we want to do continuation trades? If you're looking for a consolidation down, if you're looking for that and it doesn't come and instead it pops, that pop, you could have done it here too, where you're like, okay, you know what? It's just not going to. Now this didn't do great, but it still did okay. You still made some money on this. You'd still be profitable. But usually it's like the first time that you're looking for a pullback and it doesn't come, the break of the pullback, right? The break that tells you I'm not going to get my pullback. That is the problem. So that's when you are done thinking it's pulling back. So what do you decide? Continuation. All right. But not now, right? Unfortunately, if you're in it. But if you're in it, I know a few of you were in oil trades. And now what? And now you've taken profits because, yeah, it looked like it was time. And then it just sort of keeps on grinding higher. Here's Costco. Costco's breaking the 50 right now. So we were thinking about it through here, and you can see it never materialized. The sellers pushed it down. It was holding. And then once that came, you have to wait. And as you're waiting, you can see now you're like, wait a second. Now I'm at new lows. It didn't hold. It's below the 50, right? The same thing has not happened yet with CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is holding the 50. After its earnings, which were received well, they're expecting 18. They got 95. It shot up like crazy. But then everyone realized it was overblown, pulled back, and then you can see it's settling in here. Now what? Well, now it's holding, right? It's holding the 50. I think this is viable, and I would still say possibly alert worthy Thursday or Friday, depending. Stochastics is actually starting to turn now, but I would be more comfortable if it took out the top of this. It's only about 3 points away, though. Delta pulling back, possibly setting up for a trade. What's the problem? Earnings. I didn't realize Delta was before financials, but sure enough, there it is. DHI pulling back, possibly if it holds the 50, I think you have another viable trade. Plenty of time before earnings. The Dow still holding above the 50. Ford still looks, relatively strong. Fastenal ready to go. You don't have a lot of time on this one either. This is giving you a little bit, but not much. Okay. If it signals tomorrow, I would have, let's see, this is at what time? Before market. So I have through the 10th. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd only have 5 days for a trade. If it gave you a signal tomorrow, you have 5 days for a trade. Still viable? Potentially. And maybe we'll do that or do one like that so you can see what do those look like. They look like I have the ability to buy the option even though the volatility is high. Why? Because I don't expect the volatility to drop and I'm only staying in for 5 days. right? So if I expect this to hold, I don't have to worry about Vega working against me. You can see here, doesn't drop until after earnings, then it drops. And in fact, it's likely to get a little bit of a spike the last 5 days, which means we could get even more vol. So if you get even more vol, you want to be a buyer of the option. And then I'm in for 5 days. All I have is 5 days of theta. I don't have to worry about Vega. So if I get 5 days of upward movement, whatever I get in those 5 days, I'm done. Okay. Okay. GBTC. Okay, now you can see it didn't get to the old high. If we drop below, right now it's a triangle. Right now it's a pretty close. You get the gist. Right now it's a triangle. If it breaks the bottom of this triangle, boom, then what's the thought? That's the thought. If it bounces up and it can get through the triangle this way, that's the thought. So those are two very different trajectories, right? That are very close to each other through here. Like they're not that far apart, but they've diverged quickly out of that. So we'll see what happens with Bitcoin. Here's GE. Oh, look at that recovery. So GE, this is now GE Aerospace. There's now 3 different versions of GE companies. GE Aerospace, GE Healthcare, and GE something V. GEV is one of them. GEV. GE Vernova. I don't know what that means, but GE Vernova is one. And also GEHC. That's healthcare technology. That's another GE. So there's 3 different GEs. Very exciting. Gold. Add it to the list of inflationary pressures like materials, steel. Let's look at steel. That one's not STLD. There you go. Steel Dynamics. So US Steel, no. Steel Dynamics, very strong. Very strong. Okay. Google. So I wasn't convinced. I think Google, I'm still waiting for a consolidation. We'll see what happens there. Home Depot continuing to drop. Remember, we really didn't have much interest in that. Why? Because its group is so weak right now. IBM holding up, still above the 50, still possible. Intel, ooh, goodness, look at Intel, big gap down. We were actually thinking Intel had some possibilities if it had a mild pullback. 6.5% smashing down to its old low. Nope. There's something going on there. IWM still looks okay, and I would still think about a bullish trade if it can hold and bounce off of the 50. Hold and bounce off the 50. This thing seems to be holding up like this, which means, yes, I'm thinking about it. JP Morgan slowing down earnings. Here's Meta. We said looks pretty good. Yesterday was actually, I think, tradable in the afternoon. It's moving now. And we looked at it, but it opened a little higher. So, you'd have to, this would be, if you feel like you missed the open here, where you would be able to put your stop a little closer, what can you do? I can go to Heiken Ashi. Now, this would be real aggressive. It would give you a much better reward to risk ratio, but you wouldn't tighten the stop for a couple of days even though you're going to get a Heiken Ashi candle likely next. You can see last time we got 1, 2, and then it just sort of fell apart. What we're hoping for is to get these when we have these streaks, 5 or 6 in a row. Yeah, I would say Meta is definitely viable. Morgan Stanley trying to same thing as a lot of the financials, trying to show some momentum, has some time before earnings. Microsoft is down but holding. As long as it holds support, I'm okay with this. If it breaks support and it drops down here, we'll shut it down. The longer it takes, we don't lose much worse. Remember that this is a strong reward to risk. 4-1, I believe, is what this trade was. Netflix looks like you could build a trade on this. It pulled back, hold, turning. Yeah, I like Netflix. Netflix looks good. It's $600 stock, and the implied volatility is it's not low, it's high. It's like as high as it gets, and you don't have earnings for quite a while. This is definitely something you need to be careful trading. And I would likely trade as a spread trade, something like that. Okay. Let me ask this, options traders. Do you feel like it's clicking? Like why we come down here last, how it points us in a better direction for how to build the options trade. I'm just curious if a deeper dive on this foundations class is helping to really open up those more advanced concepts. Let me know your thoughts. It's quiet out there today. You're probably just mesmerized. Oh, NVIDIA looks fantastic. It's expensive. The volatility's come down from 65 to 45. How would I characterize volatility? Not low still, right? Low is down here in the 30s and we're in the 40s. And it's an $890 stock. They're going to be expensive options. So I would say that spread trades here make sense because A, it's going to help make it more affordable. And B, even though it's not the highest vol is still overall more inflated than not. Car setting up, beautiful, plenty of time for earnings. Nice little hammer potentially. So Picard is definitely on our list of things that could get a signal this week. An alert this week. PLTR is broken down below the 50 now. It's giving you a hook signal, but this is looks a little bit of a head and shoulders type situation. So be careful that this doesn't pop a little bit and then roll over for a hard drop. Qs holding up. Looks like they're ready to try to bounce off the 50 to me. SMCI looks like a we didn't get back up to the old high, but the selling pressure is not much. So I would say this looks viable. SPY starting to push. We're now positive. Started negative. We're now positive. So I think we could see some building here. Taiwan Semiconductor holding up. Here's the VIX. Now, if you hedged, right? If you hedged, you I think caught a little piece, but not a ton. We're clearly there's a resistance level here. One time it got through, but around 15.5, we touched it, went through, but came right back, touched it. So yeah, coming to this level, it's fine. What we would like to see is we'd like to see this thing bounce back down from here, give us one of these and give us a double. We want a double. Then it can slow down for the summer. I want a double nice set of trade windows. Waste management, setting up. Industrials still look great. Walmart consumer staples. I'm okay with this if it holds the 50. It's holding the 50. If it bounces from here, and you can see the stochastic's turning, but I'd probably like to see it take out this point right here. So 60 maybe for an entry, a little bit more from the buyers. Let's take a quick peek at our sectors. Biotech. I'm taking biotech off because I'm not going to trade it and because it just broke its 50 convincingly. Basic materials, just still strong. Communication services, also strong. Energy, God, it's strong as hell. Strongest thing right now, which is very concerning to us, right? Financials still looks great. Still looks like it's trying to turn. Industrial still looks good. Technology, a little more iffy, a little more sideways, but holding on top of the 50 still. Staples. Oh, Staples pulling back, trying to hold the 50. Healthcare sideways, utilities a little bullish, discretionary sideways. So you're like, oh, well, not everything can be going up. And it's like, you're right. Consumer stocks are less likely and energy and material stocks are more likely. We still have our big four. We still have tech. We still have communication services, industrials, and financials. Those all look fine. But there's some concerns in the sectors. And, you know, we'd love to still catch one more bounce before we get to the summer. And then we'll see what the Fed does from there. So I seem to be placing options in the wrong direction. If I place a call, option goes down. You're buying the call. Well, what I would say is this: if the stock is going up and the option is going down, that's a problem. That means that what you're gaining from your delta is being offset by losses from theta, time decay, and Vega. So if it's happening right away, it may just be that the volatility is coming down. Yeah, you know what? That might be a great, just kind of an open session. Michael, are you ever? I know that it's late for you. Are you able to come to those option sessions, or have you been coming to those? Maybe you have been. But in May, everybody, we're going to be doing Tuesday. No, you haven't. Okay, watch those recordings. They might be helpful. Because we're getting into the why. Why are we? Because exactly what you're talking about, when we have theta and Vega working against us, that's what we're trying to do with spreads, and that's why we're going into those. So take a look. All right. Well, speaking of options, tomorrow night, time spreads. Overall vol is still low, which means calendar spreads are still on the table. And calendar spreads are going to be on the menu for alerts, 100%. So if you want to make sure you're in a position to take advantage of all the alerts, you need to make sure you learn, practice, and understand calendar spreads, which will be upcoming. All right. Cannot do spreads because of the tier. You can always reapply and have a conversation and see if they'll let you based on new experience and education levels. So you're not locked into that tier. If you haven't requested one in a while, you can reapply, update your information, and go from there. So your channel, let me get the videos. Sorry, let me make sure this is the right link. Boom. There is our beautiful YouTube channel with videos galore. Videos galore. Oh, I see what happened. 331, 331. Yep, my bad. I loaded that twice here, and then it just got, yes. So let me put this link in the chat for all of you. Here is the link. That's the YouTube link. I'm going to put this link in Discord as well. I sent a Discord. So for anyone new, Judy, there was a Discord email. Go through and set that up. And then we'll go from there. So, all right, I will see you guys tomorrow night for options. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy trading.